What's good, Wagering World? It's your boy Five Star in Vegas, broadcasting live as always. For the final segment, I had to come back to beautiful Summerlin, Nevada. In here with my co-host, my guy, the only Sacramento Kings fan that I know, but he's celebrating with his side chick today, man. As the Warriors bring home their fourth championship to the Bay Area. What's good, Spreader Star? How you doing? I know it's just rocking out there in the Bay today.
Yeah, I'm not in the Bay. I'm in Sacramento. But yeah, they're celebrating on the radio. Of course, we get the Bay Area radio stations. And the celebration is in full effect, and rightfully so. I'll tell you what, I didn't think that the Warriors were going to be true contenders when the season started. And Klay Thompson's done so well, and the development of Andrew Wiggins was just something that I didn't anticipate. So, I got on the bandwagon late, because going into the playoffs, I felt like they were one of the strongest teams because when they were fully healthy, they had the number one defense in my mind and statistically, and then they just couldn't get it right during the regular season. So if you were just looking at it like numerically or using a model, they didn't look as good as they really were because they never really played all together, but they got healthy at the right time. And a lot of times that's what it takes, right? And there's always the what ifs, right? Like the Bucks fans are wondering what if with Chris Middleton. And I'll tell you what, I'll bet you the Celtics fans are wondering what if with Robert Williams, if he was 100% healthy and playing the way that he was during that run that they had after they turned their season around, being below 500 in December and then being the winningest team if you sorted by 2022. Maybe that was the difference. I personally don't think so, but I think that it would have been a lot closer than it was. That's for sure.
Robert Williams is a hell of a player. Like I told you, I watched him at Texas A&M. He's from Shreveport, Louisiana, near Monroe. He's legendary for the type of games he used to put up in high schools. That's why I told you he has a lot more to his game than we see. He's one of the most athletic big men you're going to ever see. And maybe next year they expand his game a little bit and let him step out and show you guys the type of stroke he has from the three-point line too, because he can shoot. We talked about it yesterday. I told you, man, that it was over. I knew it after Steve Kerr said Game 6. That was all I need to hear. It had already went around in that locker room that they were going to finish this. They were going to get it over with. They wanted to win in Boston, and their minds were set. Great job by Kerr. Great job by the Warriors. Truly a modern day dynasty in the mode of San Antonio, just like San Antonio with it being spaced out, but the same player that's involved with all of the championships with his three guys around him, kind of like how it was Tim and Manu and Tony Parker, for every ride. You've had Klay, Steph, and DRAYMOND, and they've really did a great job of maintaining excellence, showing great fight. Last night, defense was so impressive. DRAYMOND stepped up when they really needed him to and had a DRAYMOND type game, and that was the missing piece. If he played like that every game, they would have swept him. Because the way that the Celtics played their defense, they were allowing him to shoot and allowing him to be the playmaker. And he wasn't doing well at the beginning of the series, but he adjusted, and in the biggest games, he really played well and showed you how valuable he is to that team. What can I say about Steph Curry, man? Just unbelievable, man. One of the top players that we've ever seen to play in this game. His rings prove it. Now he's in an elite club, but having 4 rings. I'll always remember this championship for the 2022 season is the Curry championship. This is like his validation. As we had spoke about, he had never won a finals MVP, and that was huge for him. He wants to accomplish that. And somewhere, Kevin Durant was looking on and remembering the night in 2018 when Draymond checked him and told him, we were doing this before you, and this is Steph's squad. This is going to always be Steph's team. And it all came back to fruition last night as Steph's teammates chanted MVP. They were more happy for him than I think anybody else was, because they know how that guy sacrifices. No one can ever say that Steph Curry is selfish. He stepped back. He allowed KD to come get all the shine, knowing that he was the engine that made the whole thing for the Warriors run, knowing he's the one that built it from the ground up, knowing that he's the one that was there when they were struggling and no one saw them as a contender, and knowing that he dealt with all those ankle injuries, went through the Mark Jackson era and lifted that team up to new heights, to heights that they hadn't been to in years, since the 70s when Rick Barry was there. And to step back and allow an MVP to come in, and automatically they made everything about KD. They started running the offense through KD. Step back and allowed KD to be the man. KD got arrogant, and his teammates came to his rescue because of the type of guy that he is. And it's just a beautiful thing to watch Steph Curry and what he's done with the Warriors. Now look at him. He's a superstar, multiple time MVP, all these great things going, but he makes time to take Jordan Poole under his wing and teach him so much basketball. You can see so much of his game in Jordan Poole. It's ridiculous. That's why you saw after the championship, Jordan Poole, he ran to him because that's like big brother. He's took his time and practiced with him, showed him some of his moves, allowed him to come to the kitchen with the chef. And you saw Jordan Poole was huge last night. And he finally stepped up and played a Jordan Poole type game. So all of this goes to one thing, and that's Steph Curry. That's why Steve Kerr kept saying what he kept saying at the presser when they talked to him. He knows that it's a team game and that everybody matters, but Steve Kerr also knows that without Steph Curry, none of this occurs. It's his unselfishness and his talent that took the Golden State Warriors to where they're now a present-day dynasty.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on so many things. You summed it up really well. Couple things just to touch on. We were down on Draymond. I felt that he did what we said. He started just playing basketball, right? Didn't it feel like he kind of toned his antics down a little bit after that game 3?
Yep.
Little less roughhousing. He's always
Yep.
barking at the referees, right? But as far as just playing basketball and irritating your man, not by doing a bunch of borderline dirty stuff, right? With the elbows and the throwing people around, just staying in front of your man, putting your hand in his face, and boxing out with authority. There's times in basketball where physicalness is allowed, and one of them's on the box outs. So you want to start doing that stuff, that's where you do it. And that's where you're going to get away with it. And I felt that he really toned things down and settled the team down, right? Where it didn't feel like they were on a verge of getting into a fight on the court,
Right.
So credit
like
to him.
Show, right?
Pardon?
It seems like the Warriors watched our show.
I thought it was just self-awareness. He was out of control, and he put himself under control, and the team played so much better.
So much better because they're better than them. All you have to do is execute. Stop getting into the Celtics have to play like that. Like we said earlier, you don't have to. And as you said, when Draymond started playing like that, they became who we know they are, the Warriors.
Right. Yeah. And I think that their defense gets a little underrated. The Warriors didn't put on this huge offensive clinic last night, right? I mean, the defense was just there. And like I said, if you just run models and you look at the statistics, the Celtics were the better defense, but the Warriors were never healthy all year. So I'm in my mind, that was like an incomplete sample size or a faulty sample or some of the problems of just running numbers to come to your conclusion, because it's like, yeah, their numbers were weaker, especially on the defensive end, defensive efficiency. But if you sorted just for when the whole team was out there, which was a very small sample size, they were up there. And when you watch the games, they have the ability to put the clamps down just as good as anyone. I think that Kevon Looney was completely underrated in his ability to perform his role. I thought he did excellent on switches. I thought Steph, for as much, as he gets on his defense, of course, he wasn't, Dennis Rodman, right? Just shutting people down, but he did his job. Yep. He understood his role, and players stopped
so much effort
him.
too. He gives effort. He gives effort on defense. That's the thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is, and I wasn't as high on him going into the season, but what I'm loving right now is kind of the overreaction of everyone wanting to bury Jason Tatum. First of all, I was trying to think of this morning when a player under 25 has been the best player on a finals team. I couldn't really think of it. And I'm going back, 30 something years, right? I mean, like, when Magic started, right? Kareem was the best player
Kareem was the
when they
best
won
player.
those early ones, right? So we go through there. None of the Celtics won it before
Maybe
Bird was
Moses
25.
Malone. I think Moses Malone might have been right at
But didn't he
25
have
when.
Dr. J then?
Yeah, but it was Dr. J's more downward. After Dr. J lost the Afro, he wasn't as good. I think he did win an MVP in '83, right? '83 when they won the championship, he might have been the league MVP.
Yeah, I mean, so we're going back there, and I didn't watch then, so I'm just
Yeah, I
going
did. It's
off
all from
my
watching
memory, right?
ESPN
Yeah,
history.
and Jordan, Jordan didn't win until after he turned 25.
Yeah.
Shaq was the best player when Kobe won when he was young, in my opinion, right? And then Duncan wasn't the best player on the
Lou
99 team.
Alcindor. Lou Alcindor.
Yeah, right. So we're going back to the 60s.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm
I'm
saying.
just
It's
saying,
nothing recent.
and this is
Yeah.
probably just me, enjoying watching all the Boston fans melt down. But they want to do wholesale changes to this team. I think they're really close. Marcus Smart, we kind of liked him at point guard, and then in the end, we saw, I thought that some of his inefficiencies as a point guard were exposed, and that he's going to have to go back to the shooting guard role. And I think he has multiple issues trying to be your league creator. And number one is he's sloppy with the ball in transition, so too many turnovers on what should be your most highest efficiency shots. He's unable to get past better defenders off the dribble, right? So it felt like the Celtics offense got stagnant, and too many times they couldn't create off the dribble with their point, like most teams in the NBA can. Then they have to get it to Tatum or Brown, and then they have to do something ISO to make things work. And then you go to the opposite side where the team basketball is happening, right? And Steph and Poole are both able to beat their man off the dribble and just initiate the offense in a different way. And then when they're not beating their man off the dribble, rather than just giving it to their forward and letting them ISO, they're running multiple screens to get guys open. For guys like Klay Thompson who aren't going to beat people off the dribble very often. But they're just setting screens and they're moving, so he still gets those open shots. So I think that comes down to something that we wanted to talk about. And that's okay. So first of all, I'm going to take the Steve Kerr side in this when we're talking about Steve Kerr and Mark Jackson, right? And I don't want to diminish the credit that Mark Jackson deserves at all, because I just got through saying how I thought the Warriors defense was underrated. And I think all the credit of the construction of that defense goes back to the before, goes back to 2014 when Mark Jackson instilled in them the defensive principles and let these guys know you're not getting on the court unless you guys learn how to play defense, and you guys are going to play team defense, and you're going to give me 100% effort on the defensive end, and that's what we're going to do in practice. So I know that you were really high on Mark Jackson, and you think they could have done it even with Mark Jackson at the helm. I think that the motion offense that Steve Kerr brought from Lute Olson in Arizona was the difference, and then I didn't like the way the Jackson's offense looked. I mean, I know Lute Olson is still probably pretty archaic, right? But it was forward thinking for his time. Well, I felt that Mark Jackson was running that old 90s Knicks, 80s Pacers, run it through the post, then come back out, didn't look as fluid and using. So how do you think that Mark Jackson would have fared if he never got fired? Let's be honest, it wasn't performance related. It was for comments that he made in the media that offended his owners. And looking back, you can understand why, because I can understand why the owners took it as a personal attack. And I won't delve into it, but you guys can look it up if you're not sure what I'm talking about. But it didn't show a lot of awareness, and he probably could have handled that a little better. I think he kind of forced them into a corner there. But anyways,
he stood on his principles and he paid for it, and a lot of people down there for it. It's worked out fine for him. Nobody's crying for Mark Jackson. He's only been the lead analyst on ABC and ESPN for what now, over 10 years. And it's not like he's getting paid pennies. I'm sure he's probably making more money now than he would have probably made as the Warriors coach.
And it's a lot less stressful too.
And it's a lot less stressful.
Don't matter who wins, you get your money no matter what. So no criticism.
His partner, what's his name? He used to coach the Rockets and
Van Gundy.
Van Gundy?
Yeah,
Jeff Van Gundy. Van Gundy, when he's working as an announcer, he just looks like a cool little bald-headed guy, just as perky. When he goes to coach, he becomes like a ghoul. His whole face is like dark. His eyes are like swollen from being up all night. You can see the stress on him, you know. So maybe Mark Jackson ducked some things, but 2014, Steph and Clay were still babies. Draymond was still babies. He never got a chance to play with them fully matured and in their prime, even though he was seasoning them at the time and preparing them for what they're doing right now. As we talked about on text last night, Draymond, the organization didn't even want to draft him. He fought to get Draymond there, and then he fought later on to make sure that he started and that they got rid of Lee. Because when they first put him in that lineup starting and benched David Lee as a big-time free agent that it came over and was probably the highest paid player on the team, it was a lot of friction in the Bay. I know you remember that. And that was all Mark Jackson.
And that goes back to what I say. Why did he not get on the floor? He couldn't defend.
Right.
He was 20 and 10 and give up 25. Give up 25 on the other end. He was real slow. He couldn't even really play
terrible
good in the
defensive
post.
player. Terrible.
And the way the league's going, it was going to continue to just get worse for him.
Right.
You know, he's a player built for 1989 when the power forwards only guarded power forwards. And he had no chance against smaller players.
And that's what kind of goes to my point that I believe Mark Jackson would have evolved more because he already had so much vision for this team with the moves that he made. He's the one that got Iguodala to come over there. Iguodala only came because Mark Jackson recruited him to come play for him. Came over there and joined the team. Steph and Clay, he called them the best after their first practice together.
And everybody laughed.
Everybody laughed. He said,
myself included. I'm like, oh, really? Okay.
They're the best shooting guard combo in the history of the NBA. And now he's saying this in 2012, 13, right?
Yeah.
Now, imagine if he gets a chance to groom that the way he does. The Draymond going small, having a power point forward. That was him. So I feel like if he would have been given a chance, him and Joe Lacob could have put their brains together because Lacob wasn't the problem. He was having a problem with the owners. Then they would have been able to get an offensive coordinator type to be on the bench and put in an offense that would have been just as effective as Kerr. Don't get me wrong. Kerr has never been terrible at anything. Like, he's been great at everything he's ever done. I don't care if it's being a GM, being a player, being an announcer. He's good at everything. So he definitely had an effect on this team. And he definitely is a Hall of Fame coach. And no one can ever take the things that he does away from him. Kerr completely outcoached Udoka this series. You saw after that loss, the changes that he made with Looney and things like that, playing a little bit of Moody, bringing back Gary Payton was huge, you know. So he worked that lineup beautifully. So believe me, when I say this about Mark Jackson, I'm not taking anything from Steve Kerr. I respect the hell out of Steve Kerr and his coaching ability and his ability to relate to the players and communicate. I just feel like Mark Jackson could have did the same thing if he would have been given the time. That's all. I just feel like they're both great coaches. They just got different styles.
And I was all ready to debate you like first take style, right? But I think you make a great point. If he had the understanding and the self-awareness to have an offensive coordinator, right, like a D'Antoni style guy,
yeah,
you're absolutely right. But in the end, right, you know, so I really think that Steve Kerr deserves a lot of credit because I thought, you know, it's not like he invented this offense, but I think he implemented it perfectly. It's the best read and react we've ever seen, right? And you know, I'm not sure if Lute Olson actually made it, you know, because that goes back to before my time. I don't know if he made it up or he took it from someone else, but whoever designed it would see it and say, that was exactly what we're going for.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
But I don't think that Mark Jackson gets the credit he deserves for building the foundation, right? Like Mark Jackson poured the cement, right? He set the architect, right? Steve Kerr came up and put in all the studs, right? And put up the drywall and everything, right? So I don't think Mark Jackson gets the credit he deserves. You know, and he's almost become like a punchline on NBA Twitter, which is so quick to react to everything. And you know, I've actually made a conscious effort to spend less time on there, and I've been enjoying the basketball a lot more. So we definitely agree there on that. You know, Mark Jackson deserves more credit there. Anything more on this? Because
let's get the Celtics just a little bit. Because yesterday, let's get a little bit about the Celtics and the future of the Celtics. Yesterday's news I took gave out Jaylen Brown over
great pick there, and I missed mine, so I'm glad you got that one home.
Yeah, very easy. We knew he's the dog of the whole group. He's the only one that has competitive spirit, has fight, and I really hope he gets out of there. I hope that they make the mistake and trade him somewhere that's a good team, though. Not don't throw him somewhere with some garbage, Put him somewhere good, Don't ship him out and put him in exile somewhere. Give him to a team that can play. That's just missing an athletic wing, man. And you're going to see some great things from Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is just, he's a great player, man. And I just, to this day, can't understand why they love Jason Tatum in that area so much than him. We talked about it briefly. Maybe it's the politics, maybe it's his stances on social issues.
I think it's the ISO game. I think everyone, I saw a tweet today, right? Everyone talks about, in his bag and puts the step back threes on Twitter, right? When you hit
Tatum,
just in general, right? I mean, that's what we glorify all year on NBA Twitter. Homeboy's in his bag when he drops 45. Homeboy's in his bag when he makes an impossible move.
Harden,
but he does make those shots that are very difficult.
Yeah, step shot. Yeah, he makes those. But I'm talking about, to me, in your bag is Harden, Kyrie Irving. They get in their bag because they got a bag.
But
Curry
he
has a
creates
bag.
space and he makes tough shots.
That's
just why I think they like him more.
Was unacceptable. That was an unacceptable performance. I don't care. You got to at least have enough heart to say, my shot's not falling. Let me figure out how to get to the free throw line. This little under move that he's doing, bringing the ball up, he's not even strong with his hands. They were taking the ball. How many turnovers did he get out doing that move, man? Doing that little under move. They took it every time he did it because his hands aren't strong, obviously. He just needs to develop his game more. And, he's a good kid, so I'm sure it's going to, motivate him too. But I just hate that Jaylen Brown gets so many, people that are against him and detractors in that region because of Tatum. And it should be just appreciating both guys. But unfortunately, for some reason, you got Tatum guys and you got Brown guys, And I'm a Brown guy personally, but I'm not from that region. I'm not a Celtics fan. I'm just a sports bettor that I'm putting my money up, so I'm analyzing these games to the T because this is how I feed my family. And what I've seen is that Jaylen Brown is a better player at this point. Now, I don't know about the future, but at this point. And I also was intrigued the fact that Draymond Green told several of the Celtics players, Grant Williams and Jaylen Brown, that, hey, you guys are so good, you'll be back. I really believe you guys will be back. Don't get down on yourself. You will be back. I don't know if it's Draymond being a motivational speaker or what, but how do you think the East pans out over the next few years? Do you see the Celtics within the next 3 years getting back to the finals as the team is constructed now?
No, but I mean, no team's going to stay the same from year to year. All those teams have to make moves in order to get better. I'd say the one that's most static is Milwaukee. They don't really have a lot of assets to maneuver with. And I think they can easily just tell themselves the same way the Warriors did. If we're fully healthy, this is a different story. Now, whether or not that's true, we'll never know.
I wouldn't be surprised to see a Bucks and Warriors next year in the finals. Yeah. That wouldn't surprise. Yeah. Or Nets and Warriors, because if KD and Kyrie are the players that I think they used to be, if the money hasn't made them where they don't care anymore, or even not so the money, just the coverage, because you see how both of those guys, they hate the media. But forget the media, man. You have to care about your own self, about your own legacy, your own brand, your own pride. Stop worrying about the media and what they're saying about you and arguing with them, and get on the court and perform, because we've seen before where the media has had to show people love that they didn't really necessarily care for, because your play speaks for itself. You're played to be a professional ball player. So I'm very, very, very interested to see if KD, after how he looked against Jason Tatum, which now, as we see later in the playoffs, he has to feel even worse. This was a terrible playoff for KD. He got hounded by Jason Tatum. He made him look horrible. Knocked out in the first round by sweep. Then he had to sit at home and watch the Warriors win another title, replace him with Wiggins, and show him that you were just a part, man. You have nothing to do with our success. You were just a piece that fit in our whole strategy for our team, and you can be replaced, and we'll still do the same thing and have the same results. That hurts, man. I know that hurts because before this series, that's why I always call this the Steph Curry Finals. Everyone thought that the Warriors were winning because of KD. And the Warriors were winning. Yeah, KD was doing this thing, but the Warriors were winning because they were the Warriors. Just like people like you and myself have always believed, because we know what type of team they were before KD joined them. And the reason why KD joined them, because he couldn't beat them, so he joined them. You know, so he has to be at home feeling some type of way if he cares anything about his dignity as
he cares more than anybody.
KD.
Here's my thing with the Nets. Yeah. He's on Twitter arguing with everyone. All he talks about is basketball.
And I tweet him all the time and tell him when he gets to going on them rants, tripping and going, I'll be like, KD, brother, go enjoy your money. Go to Santorini and go
all
get
he
on
cares about is basketball. You got to give him credit for that. But the thing is, he teamed up with a guy.
What are you doing?
He teamed up with a guy that doesn't necessarily care about basketball. I think that's an issue. I also think the Nets have kind of mismanaged their assets to the point where I don't see how they fix all the holes on that roster.
They got to call the LA Rams. You got to call the Rams and my Saints. The Rams and the Saints know how to torque the
NFL way different, man. You got 53 spots to work with. In the NBA, you only got 15.
Right.
And the players that you need aren't as readily available. And half that is because you can cut people in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times players that are better than the player that are replacing them get cut for purely financial reasons. One guy's making $12 million, they can get a guy doing it for $2 million. And maybe I'm, just use a Madden term, right? Obviously, that don't do it, but it's an 89 to an 85. And they go, well, $10 million for 4 skill points or whatever is not really worth it. So you can get really good players who aren't losing their job because they can't perform their job. They're losing their job just because of the financial ramifications. In the NBA, it's not that case. And I think they have so many holes to plug.
Super big
And at this point of his career, I don't know if I trust Kyrie to really be committed and to do everything.
Do you think Kyrie really cares if he ever wins a ring again? He don't give a damn. He don't care. He really don't care. Like I'll play and I'll give my all, but if it doesn't happen, it just he don't care.
And I don't think he puts the time in off the court.
Yeah.
And we're bouncing all around here, but when you talked about Steve Kerr coaching Udoka, and this is just what reminded me of it.
Mm-hmm.
He outcoached him in the offseason and training camp and in preparation because when he had multiple different ways for their offense to run. He had multiple different looks to give them.
Yep.
They could run ISO. They can run their motions. Sometimes they run one screen. Sometimes they run 2 screens. They're giving them multiple different looks. It did a lot of times. It just didn't feel like the Celtics had an offensive game plan. They looked like 5 guys that picked each other at 24-hour fitness.
Exactly.
And they get out there and you just throw it to the guy. I mean,
because
who's the best guy on your team. You give it to him. And
that goes back to what we talked about. Remember when we were saying that I think that Brad Stevens is an X and O guy, but he's not their type of guy where they weren't listening to him. They looked at him as a geek, as a nerd. So he tried to hire Udoka, who comes in with their presence, and he has them guys playing hard, hustling, playing defense. But the X and O's are lacking, man. They're lacking, especially on offense. They're lacking.
Well, I think it's also hard to get your offense started when your point guard can't win any battles off the dribble.
He's looked slow as molasses. And if you go pull up some tape on Marcus Smart in college, you would be like, is this the same guy?
He's also what is he now? 28, 29?
Yeah.
He's put on some weight too. He's really probably a 2 guard.
He's drinking, man. He drinks probably on the off season. You can tell how the weight that he has on him.
I think he's more of a 2 guard at this point, and they're gonna really need.
I think he's a come off the bench guy, me personally, and I'm serious about that. And don't get me wrong, his defense is incredible. It was just his year. They gave him the hype. He did play some good defense. I actually thought that Mikal Bridges was a better defensive player than him this year, but that's just my opinion. He received the award because, one, they needed to give it to a guard just to switch things up. They've been giving it to too many big men. He was led the #1 defense. He was great motivational guy in the locker room, great with the pressers and stuff and dealing with the media. His game is average now. He's not fast. He's very slow. He's streaky shooter. Sometimes he's knocking down threes, but when he's missing, he doesn't have enough sense to do something else. He keeps shooting when they leave him open. Grandpa moves around the goal, no explosiveness anymore. He's not flying to the rim like he used to. So if I was them while he's at his height as being a defensive player, I'd probably shake the world up and try to trade him, because it's a couple teams out there who have some speedy young point guards who can really play, that'll bite on that and think, oh yeah, we'll bring the veteran. He's the defensive player of the year, but they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. But Brad Stevenson and him didn't get along at all.
They might, because that's the thing with the NBA and the NFL. You're so flexible as a GM. You can build the team how you want.
Yeah.
Right. You kind of stuck here. So for them to have any type of flexibility at all, they're going to have to give up on someone. I know you want to see Jaylen somewhere else. I don't think that Jaylen Brown's getting moved. So
if it's up to Udoka, he's not. Udoka loves him. So if it's up to him, he's not.
I think he's there, and I think they'll continue to build around this. And I think this season's a success. And obviously, the way that it ended, right, is really discouraging for fans. But these people that just want to tear this whole thing down, I think you're missing. I think you just make a couple minor tinkers and you keep going. And I think one of those is understanding we have the rest of the personnel. If Robert Williams comes back 100%,
nice
to absorb losing Marcus Smart and to get a more offensive oriented point guard. Now, they failed 3 times trying to do that. They tried with Kyrie. It didn't work. I don't think that was a basketball fit. I think that was a this fit. They tried
Kyrie
with Kemba.
Didn't like Boston. He didn't like the fans. Yeah.
They tried with Kemba, but he was washed. And they tried with Schrader. Same deal. Schrader's not a point guard. He's a scorer. He's a 2 guard that can dribble and beat people off the dribble.
And small.
But, so the fixes are there. I think this team can go back, and I don't think that they will be idle. And I think he's the obvious guy because you don't have any other assets, right? He's the only one. To get a player of this caliber, you're going to need to. He's going to have a big contract, right?
Yeah.
So he's the only one that's really going to fit in there. If they're going to do it, and he's been there for a long time, and he's always the one whose name was getting dangled in all these trade speculations.
They better dangle it again, because if you think back about the spread, we watched every playoff game that the Celtics played this season. Their best performances were when he didn't dress out, when Derek White was the point guard. That's when they had their most impressive offensive games.
Yeah.
So, they really need to. Well, I know he's the defensive player of the year and all of that, but man, I'd move that guy. I'd get off of him. I'd even go John Wall with them. Would be nice. I'd get John Wall. Rockets will take him.
He might be washed too.
Put him on. Nah. He's not. He's serviceable enough for what they need. The Celtics need someone who can push the pace so they can get some easy baskets where they can use the athleticism that they have on the wings. Because how often do you see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum get a chance to run? Like, honestly, they're always pounding the ball in that ISO miss, getting hard baskets. If Wall comes, he's going to push that pace where they're going to get a bunch of layups, man. A lot of easier shots than they're getting right now, for one. And 2, Wall is a pass-first guard. He's looking to get assists. He's looking to put you in places to win. And you know that yourself, John Wall is a smart player. A lot of people don't want to accept that. The Wizards were good teams when he was in his prime over there. They were really good teams for what they had around. And all they had was Bradley Beal and himself. He made Gortat so much money, it's ridiculous. Gortat signed the best deal of his life because of John Wall, So I think that John Wall, with a year out resting, I've seen some tape of him playing around in Houston, and in these pickup games, he's looking a lot better from the 3-point line and everything. And I think he's hungry to show people some things, because he's another one that's always been a leader, always been winning through his life and his career. Even at Washington was formidable when he was over there. They were annual playoff team when he was there. So I don't know. I would try John Wall if I was them. I mean, what do you have to lose? He's better than, I think.
I just always worry about point guards that are on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah.
And he don't necessarily fit the timeline. If you get another guy that's 24, 25.
How Fox would look over there?
That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'll take Smart, Neesmith, Grant Williams, and a number 1.
There you go.
And they would win the title with Fox in my mind.
Yeah, I think
because he would create so much. Those guys, Tatum's shooting percentage would go up like 5 to 8%.
Yeah, man.
because everyone will collapse on Fox on almost every single possession. Same with Jaylen Brown.
And he's
And
going to push the pace off a rebound. They're gone.
yeah,
And that's the
yeah.
problem that they have. They're not running enough, man. Those guys are too fast, too good of finishers on breaks.
And let
Not
us
get
rebuild
past
with
them.
Smart, Mitchell, and Jaden Ivey. I'm down with that.
Yeah, you're going to have some defense now. Yeah, now you guys,
Yeah.
of course, because one thing you could say, Marcus Smart is a professional, and he would definitely bring a different attitude to the Kings
He would turn the whole
organization.
team
He's kind of
around the
like
way that
Pat
Ron
Beverly.
Artest did. The way that Ron
Yeah,
Artest did the last time we were in the playoffs in 2006 or whatever year that was.
yeah,
Ron
yeah.
Artest brought that. He's the leader. It don't matter if he's not the best player, and he arguably was. But there was
Mhm.
more talented guys on that team. I think like Bonzi Wells, and I think Rudy Gay was in his prime back then.
Yeah,
I can't. I mean, 16 years ago. So forgive me if
yeah.
I'm wrong, right? But Ron Artest was the reason that they were good because he brought that attitude. I
Okay.
think it's even Ron Artest. He might have not even named Ron Artest back. I can't remember when he changed his name,
Yeah.
but they made him
Meta
change
World
his name
Peace.
to the Lakers. But
Yeah.
regardless, you
Meta
understand my
World
point,
Peace.
and that's what we need. Is we need just a real dog. And then I think like you said about Fox, if he was on that team, I mean, you know,
They
I
need to
think
move him. They
they
need
would
to
win
go
it all.
give him some people to run with. I'd like to see him because I'd hate to see him wasting his career in these
I had to see him
professional
too,
league
man. I
years.
want us to get rid of him. One for us and two for him.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's a player a lot of people don't know outside the NBA circles because he's been hidden in Sacramento so
Yeah,
long. But
yeah.
we're through with the NBA for the season. That's your sport, and I couldn't be happier because now we turn the page to my sport. And when we come back August 1st, it's football, 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 and more football, man. Before we
Well,
get
you
into
got a
the ball,
football pick for this weekend, right? Why don't you give him that now, and then we'll give
yeah.
out our tennis picks too.
Exactly. Okay. I'm gonna give out a parlay. It's gonna be Berretinni in tennis, and then in football, we're gonna go with the USFL Panthers. The Panthers are a -2. I also have a bet on straight money line. They're playing the Pittsburgh Maulers. The Maulers are struggling at the quarterback position. No matter who they put in at quarterback, they struggle. And the best one that they have, of course, their meathead coach keeps trying to act like he's coaching middle school, doing dumb stuff. Remember, he's the one that cut the guy because he didn't order a salad and ordered a slice of pizza or something. And so now this is what he did last week. They have a kid that's on the bench who's decent, who's a good Division two quarterback, got size and everything. When he comes in, the offense looks a little bit better. The guy came in and they got a false start. He sat him the whole first half and played a trash quarterback that he knew couldn't play better than him. Just stupid stuff, trying to, send all these messages to his team with one win. So the guy comes in, doesn't get to play on time, and they get a penalty. He takes him right back out and sits him again. Just middle school stuff. Nobody that's a grown up man doesn't want to deal with that. So we're fading them every time we get a chance. The Panthers aren't that good. They got Jeff Fisher, who still can't coach, but they do have a better quarterback, much better. Their quarterback position is a lot better. Both of their quarterbacks that they have can play decent enough to beat the lowly Maulers. The only way that the Maulers can stand is off of turnovers, and those are variables that you cannot count. The Panthers are a better rushing team. They actually, I think, second in the league in rushing. Got some good backs. I expect them to beat the living crap out the Maulers. This is the last game of the season. Neither team is going to the playoffs, so this will be the Panthers' last time to put some tape up for the NFL, and I expect them to go crazy. So go with the Panthers in the USFL, Michigan Panthers -2 over the lowly Pittsburgh Maulers, and also take my guy Berretinni. He's warming up on grass. He's just won a tournament. Now he's trying to win the London ATP. Now he struggled a little bit, surprised with Cutler, but I didn't know Cutler had beat him 3 times before. Some reason, just like they say, styles make fights, and for some reason, Cutler gives him a lot of problems. But he looked back to his dominant self today against Tommy Paul, and I expect Berrettini to move on to the finals with a victory tomorrow morning. What you got?
All right, I'm going with Belinda Bench's money line here. This is actually, more of a numerical play here. I just think that this is mispriced. I understand why the books expect Maria Sakkari to win, but this is Belinda's best surface here. And the idea that she shouldn't be, maybe a slight favorite or at least even money is wild to me. So I see some value here on Belinda benches because we've talked about Belinda before, but one of the things she likes to do is redirect the pace that her opponents create, and the grass just gives her even more opportunity to do that as the ball's coming quicker and faster. It just kind of feeds into her hands. She has excellent lateral quickness. So sure, her defense still holds up even on the quicker surface. And she has a pretty good serve, actually, for a player that we consider to be more of a defensive player or a counterpuncher. She still dials it up, and it makes it very hard for her to break. At the same time, she's very excellent at breaking her opponent's serve. She has over a 40% break percentage on the year, and she's holding it above 75%. So excellent numbers. Of course, Maria Sakkari is close to the same. Maria Sakkari is like, high 30% on her break percentage. So I think the Belinda will be able to hold, and then, gets into maybe a tie break or just, break point conversions, which we know are wildly variant in tennis, which is why a lot of times when we're attacking these ones, we're taking ones where we see the clear skill advantage, like Berretinni money line, or we're taking the plus money. And that's the situation in this match because we know, hey, this is variant, anything can happen. But now if I'm profitable on 46% of the outcomes rather than 54 or 55% of the outcomes, it just makes it so much easier for me to cash long term. So, I'm not guaranteeing a victory or anything. Like, I think Berrettini's a much safer play, right? Because he's clearly better than his opponent. But I think that they've mispriced this number, and that's what we're doing. We're attacking when they make their mistakes. I feel they've made a mistake here. We're going Belinda benches money line.
All right, let's go on and knock these out. It'll be 21 out of 22 weeks. Time sure flies by when you're having fun, man. We've been with you guys every day, Monday through Friday. Now the last, what is that, 5 months, man? We went through the March Madness, the second half of the NBA season, the whole NBA playoffs, and we really enjoyed it, man. And I'm not a basketball guy, but my guy is. So, as you know, we're doing a weekly show with the Wagering World where we were talking NFL and college and doing it one time a week on Fridays for you guys to prepare you for the weekend betting because football just has a much easier schedule to bet, a lot more time with the lines up and everything. My guy does NBA, so I want to get some NBA to you guys because I trust what he can do in the NBA world. He's been doing it a really long time. And also, I'd like to venture in and learn myself. So we decided to do a daily show every day so we could catch these lines for you on basketball. But basketball is wound down. A lot of people are emailing me and DMing me, spread like, man, why are you guys going off? We watch you every day. Man, what we going to do now? We have to take a break, guys. And the reason why is because if you're a full-time professional gambler, all you do is bet sports. As me and Spread do, you have to have unplugged time. It's so vital. If you don't, you're going to explode because we deal with high pressure every day. It's very stressful betting sports. Sometimes you might have a game you have a lot of money riding on and someone hits a buzzer beater at halftime and you lose by a 50-foot shot that has a 1% chance of going in, or someone gets a steal or something, or someone fumbles at the goal line and complete control of the game and about to take the lead and give you the win. All of these strange variables that you can never factor in happen when you bet sports, and a lot of times you're on the right side and it still doesn't go your way. And that's very stressful. So you need time to unplug. Most sports bettors like us do it around this time, this break between basketball season and the NFL and college, so we can clear our minds, go do a little vacationing, just unplug for a second, man, from all the stress of doing this daily and come back recharged and refreshed for the next year. Spread, you've been doing a little NFL writing. What have you learned in doing your NFL rights as we're about to go into doing the NFL?
Yeah, I mean NFL I do all the time, so I kept on that. What I was really learning was some college football, so I'll be looking forward to discussing some of that with you. I told my buddy, I said, okay, I'm just starting with quarterbacks and coaches. I'll learn the defenses by the time they kick off. But
That's right.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun for me to venture into something new, and I might not even handicap it because last year I had a great time just taking your plays, betting those, and just waking up on Sunday morning already, off to a profitable weekend. So not necessarily sure I'll be able to handicap it, but I'll definitely be a little more informed, and I think that'll make our conversations when we're breaking down the games even more enjoyable for the listeners next year. And the NFL, I mean, I can't wait. Like you said, we're going to take a little time off, but let's be honest, not a lot's going to happen as far as NFL news of time off, because it's almost like propaganda what you get coming out of these training camps. Every cornerback's looking better. Every quarterback's hitting every throw, right? Every wide receiver, nothing but positive propaganda will be coming out. But then we're going to get the real truth, because some of these players that were doing so good in these OTAs that we're reading about are going to end up being cut. Right. And they're going to be, not making the final 53-man roster. So we'll be back in August. We're planning on doing 2 previews per week to build up to the NFL season. Then, of course, like I said, I've been studying this college too, so I'll be peppering you with some questions. I already hit you off the air with a couple of them, but we'll save them for when we come back looking into that opening weekend, because I understand the more and more I look into it, the appeal of this college football. It feels like it's a playoff week 1 for a couple of these teams in these high-profile matchups where, obviously you can overcome a week 1 loss. But boy, you get that week 1 win, and it's going to set you right on the right trajectory. It's going to, up your strength of schedule right off the bat, and just get everything about your program feeling so good. And as fun as it is in the NFL for overreaction week 1, nobody thinks, just because your favorite team won, it doesn't hold the same weight, right? As it will, like, say, if a Notre Dame beats an Ohio State or an Oregon beats an LSU. To open the season, where it just gives you that whole feeling of elation. So really looking forward to coming back with the football content. Of course, we'll have Curtis, coming back with some boxing as well. It's actually a pretty good winter lined up already for the boxing. I see some of the fights being made now, and I'm sure he's going to want to come on and talk about them. So I can't wait. We're getting, I think the presentation is getting even better as we talk more and more every day. And, we're texting when we're not on the show, figuring out the topics. I as great as this year was, because of course it comes down to the winning, and that's what the people are really here for. I felt like the presentation and the information got better and better as well. So I can't even imagine, just like a rookie coming back for a second year, right? I feel like we're going to be like that. I think like the show's going to grow leaps and bounds in the presentation, and we already got the winning, and that's like the foundation that I talked about earlier, right? The concrete's there, so we're just going to paint it up a little and get the presentation a little better.
Yeah, we're about to get the presentation a little bit better, but we're going to keep winning, because that's why you guys tune in. No one wins more than us in the sports betting podcast world, man. And as I said, we've enjoyed these 22 weeks with you guys. We won 21 of them. You can never be mad about that. And the one that we did lose, we only lost by 1 game. So we've had an unbelievable record. Please go through all the shows. All of them are on SCOON TV. Every podcast that we've done, the Wagering World Daily is on there. Go through it. Look at the wins. If you guys get to missing the show, you can always pull it up and go check the show. I'll also be reposting a lot of the old shows while we're off Tuesday, so you guys just can, we can stay in the mix with you guys. I'm about to go to Texas for a week next week, and then after that, me and the wife are going to go do some road trips. We're cut short on the vacation to Europe. We were supposed to go to France this year, but we're going to have to cancel because, she's pregnant. She's a little too uncomfortable to be flying that far. So we're going to turn it to a Southwest trip and just go hit all the parks, probably go see Yosemite, go to Grand Canyon again, things like that. Just really enjoy nature and enjoy this beautiful summer and this beautiful world that we're blessed to live in, and enjoy and just clear my mind, and then come back to give you guys the best that we can give you. I'll give you one right now up the door. I'm taking the Bills. I'm telling you right now, the Bills plus the points against the Rams in the first game of the year. I think the Bills are going to be the favorite to win it all. And I think that their locker room, their coach, and their quarterback are really focused on getting that ring up to northern New York. So I'll put that guy on you guys' mind as we leave for the offseason, and we'll see you guys on August the 1st. Follow my guy, Spread Astaire, at Spread Astaire. Also subscribe to his YouTube channel, Spread Astaire. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is 5 Star in Vegas Sports Investments. And please follow me on Twitter at 5 Star in Vegas. We're here every day, Monday through Friday. And we'll be back on August 1st, and we'll be coming twice a week with all of your football news right here on SCOON TV. Subscribe to SCOON TV. Guys, we really enjoyed you these 22 weeks, and we'll see you on August 1st.